A judge has sentenced former British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell to 20 years in prison.
A federal jury convicted Maxwell in December for helping her longtime associate Jeffrey Epstein recruit, groom, and sexually abuse teenage girls.
What was really interesting in all of this was hearing from Ghislaine Maxwell for the first time. She had words of empathy for the victims who gave their statements prior to her addressing the court. She said that knowing Jeffrey Epstein was the biggest regret of her life. She said that he was cunning and manipulative. She said she felt for the victims and hoped that this day would bring them a sense of peace. She said Jeffrey Epstein should have stood here before you addressing the court in 2005 and again in 2009, she said, and in 2019. All those accused, charged, and prosecuted, referring to Jeffrey Epstein. But she said today is not about Epstein. She said, I am sorry for the pain that you've experienced. I hope that my incarceration brings you peace. She hopes that it allows them to look forward and not backward. At the very end, she said, may this day help you travel from darkness into light.
So statements there from Ghislaine Maxwell as she is now sentenced to 20 years. Now, the big landmark about this is the fact that someone so rich and powerful and actually abused and trafficked young girls for so long with Jeffrey Epstein is actually getting some kind of punishment here. So let's go to the details, because Judge Allison Nathan calculated that the sentencing guidelines called for about 15 and a half to 19 and a half years in prison. She delivered a sentence slightly above that range, noting that the victim's disturbing testimony and Maxwell's direct and repeated participation in a horrific scheme. Maxwell was also sentenced to 5 years of supervised release and a $750,000 fine, which her attorney said she is unable to pay. The judge said that she will be sent to a federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. Of course, they're going to appeal this whole decision, as you could imagine, even though she said, I hope this brings some kind of a conclusion to your pain. And it was actually Jeffrey Epstein, but they're gonna appeal. Details. However, defense attorney Bobby Sternheim said that Maxwell pleaded to appeal the conviction and, as she did during the trial, pushed the blame onto Epstein. We all know that the person who should have been sentenced today escaped accountability, avoided his victims, avoided absorbing their pain and receiving the punishment he truly deserved, is what the attorney said. Jeffrey Epstein left Ghislaine Maxwell holding the whole bag. Well, that's what happens when one person's cowardly and then commits suicide and you were actually assisting him that entire time. Maybe you could tell he's a coward by the fact he was trafficking young girls and using them like his property. Disgusting, because also there was the one big witness to this whole thing that then blew the whole top off of this, Virginia Guffrey, I believe. She issued a statement ahead of this. There she is in that famous picture. If you saw this entire thing going down with Prince Andrew, and there she was only 17 years old. Before we get to her statement about that, because she's the one who I think, I saw the documentary, I saw the way she was testifying and talk about everything that happened, kind of took down Ghislaine. And now punishments are actually coming. What are your thoughts?
You know, I really think we may need to revisit these laws because, as the judge said, it's only calls for 15 to 19 and a half years. No, I would say this is the kind of thing where you don't ever get to step outside of that prison again. I mean, this happened. 100%. For years and years and years and years, Maxwell was more than happy to be a part of this at the time. I mean, she put up no resistance, no fight for any of this. She happily went along with destroying the lives of these young women, putting on them this trauma that they now carry with them forever. Her going to jail for 20 years doesn't change what happened to these young women. It never will. I mean, this is unfortunately part of who they are now, and Maxwell is responsible for that. And sure, Epstein is responsible, absolutely, but we don't have the chance to go after him. What needs to happen now, though, is we've got to get everybody else that was involved. Right. Yes, Epstein and Maxwell were, of course, the people pulling all the strings, but we've seen some of the names out of the black book. I have personally seen the flight logs of people on the plane. I actually also have some other stuff here from working with some of the lawyers who actually worked on taking down Epstein.
Yeah, you're down in Florida. Yeah, and that's where a lot of they're doing all this.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not 100% on what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say.
Oh, okay, be careful.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I mean, the names in this book, the names in the flight log. I know Republicans always want to say, oh, it's all the Clintons. Let me just tell you, yeah, the Clintons, absolutely. But there's a hell of a lot more Republicans. There's a hell of a lot more people from Silicon Valley. There's a hell of a lot more people from Hollywood than I think people could even imagine. And those are the names that need to come out. Those are the people that need to be identified by these women. And they also need to be held accountable for the crimes they committed against these young women. And that's,
yeah. It's almost like horrible people cross party and, I guess societal lines. Because people think, oh yeah, it's the libs. Oh yeah, no, it's the Republicans. Oh yeah, it's the rich people. Oh, it's the Hollywood. Oh, it's there's bad folks in each of these categories. And when they have a chance to take advantage and abuse folks, these folks are abusers, and I agree with you. Really fast, because I'm glad you point out that she's only gonna look at 20 years, but then the punishment that comes to folks like the victims. I wanna read really fast what Virginia Giuffre did say. She goes, Ghislaine, 22 years ago in the summer of 2000, you spotted me at the Mar-a-Lago Hotel in Florida, and you made a choice. You chose to follow me and procure me for Jeffrey Epstein. For me and for so many others, you opened the door to hell, she says. And then, Ghislaine, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, you used your femininity to betray us, and you led us all through it. Again, bro, this is one of those things. The punishment should be the same as what you're putting other folks through. It's disastrous. I hope they, well, after this appeal process, nothing more is actually taken down from what she's looking for.